Good morning, everyone. It's so great to see you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I am super excited. I've got the shakes because I am so excited to have Joseph Njuguna back. But before even I get into that, I want to just say a big thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching and following on this show, MoneyWise Live. Basically, what I've been trying to do is have a live show where we address very practical things on how to manage our money and the resources that we have in our hands. And so today we continue on the topic of retirement, and we are getting practical. We are actually looking at the numbers and looking how can I retire comfortably, looking at different scenarios and also addressing the questions that guys have asked. We've received so many questions, and so as we have our conversation, we're going to be answering those questions one by one. For some of you, we'll not be able to address those questions, so what we've done is actually responded to you directly in your inboxes and in your emails. And please keep those questions coming so that we remain relevant and are able to address every single question that you have. And so without further ado, I want to introduce to you Joseph Njuguna. In case you didn't watch us last week, Joseph Njuguna works at Octagon Financial Services. He is a pension consultant. He's a pension administrator, and a consultant with Octagon. And he is brilliant. He's passionate about personal finances. Yani, he feels me. And we are having great conversations that I would like you to be a part of. Welcome, Joseph.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for making the time. I'm so thrilled that you could come back. Now, before we get into the numbers and making it very, very practical, one of the questions I remember I had was, as you get into the age of retirement, many people just think about money and making sure I have a good amount of money saved up somewhere. But, retirement is more than just about money. What's your view on that?
I know the bigger part of today will be talking about money. So let us begin with that part where it's not about money.
Yeah.
It's true you're saying that retirement has much to do with money, but the other side of life is that there are other things we need to have done or sorted out before we retire, or even before we have that money we are looking for. Now, one of the most important things that you've had in other places is that you need to take good care of your health. I always ask, why would you live, a life you toil and struggle and suffer? Then once you retire, a year or 2 or 3, you are gone. Why? Because some of the things you've picked up in life were not very good for your health. So I'll couple that with the issue that even as you work, as you trade, as you do what you do, please live a balanced life. I'm sure you've heard about work-life balance. Yeah. It is not important to gain the whole world and lose the most important bit of you, your own life. You get? So even as people struggle to get whatever they need to get, it is important that they balance between what they do and also living, I call it living a life. Yeah. Waking up, doing what you like doing, and resting. So I know there are many philosophies about how you shouldn't sleep and how you should work. I mean, we are human beings. We have a body that needs to work and rest. Work and rest. In regards to living healthy, I'm not the expert, but at least I know you need to make sure that whatever you do in your life, working life, enables you to at least live several years after. 20, 10, 20. Not that you reach 60 and you only have like 3 years to live. Then why toil all this much if you're not going to even enjoy the fruits of your labor? And I keep saying, I've come to believe that life starts, like people say life starts at 40, but I always think life starts 40, 50. That's where you actually start living. In between here, what are we doing? We are hustling to get money to pay bills. Yeah. You might think that's life, but you need to see someone who wakes up to just see the birds, have a cup of tea, a cup of juice, fruits, go places you want to go because you want to go. Not because your boss told you to go, or because if you don't do it, you're not going to have rent.
Yeah.
I know we retire once, so no one has experience of, I retired 3 times, and this is how it felt. We don't have, God does not give us that ability to go through life, in cycles. So because you only retire once, it's difficult to experience it in your own life. But I always say, don't wait to be the statistics. Learn from other people or learn from other other situations. One of the other things that people need to do is what I call putting your house in order, both legally, both spiritually, and financially. What do I mean? You live your life, you have wealth, you have not written a will, you have not put your family in order. I call it plain and simple. How many people live and when they pass on, war erupts in their family because of wealth?
Many in Africa.
Very many, very many. Then there's this notion that you should not disclose anything. I mean, I know that has its own background, but I am not a believer in that philosophy because I keep saying you can't eat the money you've made. You can only consume a fraction. We are only allowed to sleep in one bed, eat one plate of food, at one point drive one car. That's just the truth. So majority of what we make will be consumed by others. Let's be very honest about it. It is now important that as early as possible, make sure that you organize the wealth you have. If you can't distribute it when you're still alive, please put a will in place so that your family does not have to fight over it. Now, why am I bringing it up as something that you need to do for retirement? Because it affects that gap, that period of life between a certain age to when you will not be here. So put it. Then you also don't want your kids and your family, your spouses to fight.
Did you say spouses?
Yeah, I said it. Because there are those who have one, and there are those who have two. And I keep saying part of what we do is that we pay a lot of death benefits as part of pension benefits. And one thing I discovered is that those who are alive are easy to handle. Those who are dead are difficult. Because when they are gone, everyone comes out of nowhere. People come out of the woods and they claim, I know this person, we met in a matatu, this one, I have 2 children. But you see, as we have known you, you're a very senior, respectable person in the society, and you had not disclosed. My issue is not, it's to disclose and make sure everything is known.
Yeah.
So that your beneficiaries and your relatives don't have to deal with those dramas that come when you're not there. So that's, to me, one of the most important things that you need to do. You have property. You don't have your titles in place. What did you expect?
Okay, so this is getting your house in order.
Yeah. House in order. Both family-wise, financial, in terms of your property, and any other thing you need to do. That's why I mentioned spiritual. You need to make sure you are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, but for spiritual, you don't need to wait until
I understand. It's just that for some people have this notion that, I need to sort it out later, or they want to ignore it. But those are some of the things that you need to think through, and in my opinion, retire when you have already sorted them out, so that you don't have to spend those last years hustling with things which are not of your age. I mean, why would you want to fight with your children and family over wealth? Why would you want to work all this long only to spend the last 10 years of your life in turmoils and court cases and the likes? I don't find that to be useful. So I always believe someone needs to sit and do something about it. Now, one of the other unique things which I've picked up.
Sorry for the noise. It's nice.
Yeah.
There's some things we can't help.
Yes. One of the things I have come to see when I'm dealing with retirees or people who have retired is that the most important thing at that particular age is not even money. It's a relationship.
Okay.
Now, relationship is not plug and play. You don't wake up and you have good relationship with people, both your own nuclear family and extended family, friends and relatives. No, you cultivate relationship. And I always have a quick one for the gentleman. Normally we live our lives, fight, earn the money. We come home and we have created our own environment. You'd find that you find that you don't have a good relationship with your kids, you don't talk to them, sometimes you're too rough as a father. Maybe that's the African lion that comes and roars and everyone disappears. Maybe that's useful for a certain age. But past a certain time in your life, you need your kids around you, you need your family around you. What would you think if you're old and sick and no one can visit you in the hospital, apart from the medical practitioners? It would be sorrowful, if you ask me. So what do I say? Spend your time and make sure you build meaningful relationship with your own family, nuclear, extended, friends and relatives. You need them. For those who have children and you have your parents around, you know what it means to them to take their grandchildren to them. You know what it means. They are always very happy. I can guarantee you most grandparents would want more time with you and their grandchildren more than money. I can guarantee you about that. That's what brings joy to them.
That's true.
Now, you don't get there by chance. If you live, I don't want to call it a confused life, but if you create such a bad relationship with your family, how would you expect them to feel comfortable to spend time with you? So that is one of the things that I have told myself and I've learned from dealing with people who are retired, is that we need to make sure that there's an environment where the people around us actually want to be around us. You get? So those are three simple things that someone should think about. There are others, but for just three.
I think the last one I would say, and I'll say it very quickly because we have a lot to go through, is you need to figure out what you're passionate about.
Yes.
Because you retire and then usually people are like, okay, so what do I do next? Can I come out? And I've seen a lot of men particularly, because with women there's many things in the church and other things
chamas and the likes,
and there's grandchildren to be looked after, but I found a lot of men in their retirement actually literally tag along their wives because they don't have things that they have sold out to people they're mentoring and other people who they're pouring out into. So start figuring out now in your 30s and 40s and 50s what you want to do in retirement. Okay, so now let's go to the numbers. I want us to look at these scenarios of people. There's somebody who actually wrote in, and we'll deal with that question later. But I was like, okay, why don't we just look at the different scenarios in your 20s? If you're 25, you earn a salary. If you're 35, if you're 45, what does that look like? How much do I actually have to put aside, and what will I end up getting at the end of the day? So let's put the scenario with a 25-year-old who earns 50,000 shillings, either through a business or employment, and they want to put into a pension. How would they do that? How much will they make if they save 10% or whatever the percentage is? Maybe you can take us through. I can take you through.
So I will spend a few minutes just breaking it down. I know there's a gentleman who asked, I want practicals. So today what we want to do is just break down the numbers so that you can see the outcome. And before I do that, I'll give several assumptions. One of the assumptions I'll put in the numbers is that whatever you're earning or contributing today will be increasing by a bare minimum of 3% per annum.
Okay, wait. What you're earning?
Yeah.
So my salary?
Yeah.
50,000.
Yes.
Will increase every year by 3%.
Just 3%.
Just 3%. Inflation is like 5%.
Yes. So it's still even below the inflation. Okay. That's number one.
Okay.
That after every year of saving, you will increase it by 3%. Whether it is through your salary or if you're doing business. If today you're contributing 1,000, you will do 1,000 plus the 3% after the 12 months. The next assumption is that where you will invest this money, the proceeds will be at least 8%. And I have taken a very, moderate trade, very conservative, to make it very easy, so that you understand the numbers and how they grow.
Okay.
So if there's a gentleman who, someone has been earning around 50,000 and just contributes 5%, it translates to around 2,500 shillings per month. If you 2,500 shillings per month. If you consistently contribute this amount for your remaining 35 years, the other assumption is that the retirement age you're talking about is 60 years. Fair. So if you consistently contribute, you will have a whole 35 years to contribute. By the end of these 35 years, you will have accumulated around 7.1 million. That is both your principal plus the interest earned over these 35 years.
5% only is 2,500 shillings.
Yes.
If I put 2,500 shillings to a pension, if let's assume it's an individual pension, earning about 8%, you're saying at 60 I will have 7.1
million.
Okay.
Now, remember what I said last week?
Yeah.
Consistency is everything.
Yeah.
It's not how much you have, but if you can be consistent.
Yeah. But it's
throughout
not just
this period.
2,500. It's
Yeah.
2,500. The next year,
You
it's
will add
2,500
plus 3%,
70
which
what
is
did you say?
basically
70
75
shillings.
shillings on top. And you'll do that cumulatively over this period of time.
Got it.
That's why I said the two assumptions I made was that every year, whatever you're contributing this year will increase by 3%. You
3%.
can choose to increase it by 5%.
Okay.
But the analysis I'm talking about today is just bare minimum 3%,
Okay.
which is doable for most of us.
So then continue from the 7.1.
So for the 7.1, if you convert it into an annuity or a drawdown, the rough estimate you're going to get per month from age 61 going forward would be around 71,000, give or take, plus or minus. Just a bit.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
No
If you take
questions
an
asked.
no questions
Every
asked.
month I will get 71,000 shillings
Yeah.
paid into my account like a salary
Like
until
a salary
I die.
till you die. So I began by 2,500, so that someone doesn't think that it requires you to have millions of money. No, it just requires you to have something.
And this is just 2,500. Like I could
2,500.
invest in other money. I can have another business where I earn
Yes.
another
Yes,
10K,
yes.
and that 10K I can put in wherever
Yes.
else I want, and I have other money that is
Yes.
available to me. So
You can even have rental income.
yes.
But I'm talking about the one which is secure, 100%. It's not pegged on the weather,
Right.
not pegged on the government, not pegged on, whether your tenants are paying or not. At that age, you need something that is not to be discussed. I bring this argument about the support retirees get from their children. Do you know if I'm supporting my parents, the variable is already too many because it's assumed that I have money this month. So my parents will always wait for me to have that money and be willing to send.
Yeah.
Because there's no gun in my head for me to send. I always ask myself, I don't want to be the parent on the other side, always depending or calling my son or daughter, hey, please remember to do the M-Pesa for this month. That's why I say there's a part where you also need your freedom. Because if you have the money coming through, you will do and plan as you so please.
And it's not the way it should be done,
Yes,
really. I mean, you
yes.
should be giving your children in fact, forget children. Your grandchildren need an inheritance.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's move to the next person.
But to make it easy, let me just do 2 examples per age group.
Okay, so still 25 years.
25.
Carry on.
If this person who is at 25 has 35 years to retire, only contributes 5,000. That's double, 10%. Maybe your employer is doing for you another 5.
Maybe
your employer is doing another
contributing,
5.
matching, yeah.
But let me take care of those doing business because they don't have someone to give them that additional. So if you just contribute 5,000 for the first year and consistently do this for the 35 years, after these 35 years are over, you would have accumulated both interest and capital up to 14.3 million shillings.
Wow.
Now, this is a funny thing about cumulative income.
And this is just a month, 5,000 a month.
5,000 a month, consistently. Is that at the end of these 35 years, the proportion of this 14 million would be 3.6 your contribution and 10.7 interest. Did you get that?
Yes.
The interest is close to 2 or 3 times what you've contributed. That is because you did it for over 30-something years.
It's the power of compounding.
Power of compounding interest. So people don't really see it that way because you have one life and maybe you've not experienced. But don't wait to experience it yourself. Learn from other people. Learn from what other people do. You get? So that's the beauty of starting at 25. It's very easy. Do you know at the end of this 35 years what this person will be earning if they convert it into an annuity or an income drawdown? 140,000 per month. 43,000 per month. 143,000 per month.
143,000
Yes.
per month?
Yes.
And okay, so if they die after year 2,
Yes.
what happens to their 14 million?
So that is where we go into how the annuity or the income drawdown operates.
Okay.
In a nutshell, if you select an annuity, it has something called a guarantee period, which you select and say, I want to have a guarantee period of 15 years. It simply means that they will pay you till you die. But if you die before 15 years, the balance of the benefits will be paid to beneficiaries.
Got it. What's the maximum guarantee period?
I think I've seen 25.
Oh, you have?
Some I've seen 25.
Okay.
The insurance companies have different, but I've seen 20, 25. I'm not so sure if you can negotiate upwards. I'm not so sure, but at least I've seen 25.
But even if I live beyond those 25 years, they will continue. Even if I'm 110, I will still receive 143,000
Yes.
shillings.
The definition of an annuity is it's a life product. It will basically outlive you. That's the simplest I can put it in English.
Got
It will outlive you.
Now, there are guys looking at us and saying, 25 years, really? And there's no 25-year-old watching this. So can we look at
Let's go to the
30s?
next stage. So to make it easy, between 30 and 40, I've selected 35 years
Okay.
for ease of just the analysis. I would expect that if you're 35, I am hoping that the bare minimum you're talking about is around 5,000. I mean, you can contribute less, but I'm hoping that
can
at
do
that
5,000.
35, maybe your salary is maybe 100,000, maybe. And you can do 5,000. So if you do 5,000 and you consistently do it for the remainder of your 25 years of working, it will mean that at the end of the period you'll have 5.7 million, which is converted to around 57,000 per month.
Okay.
Now, you remember I talked about the income replacement ratio earlier?
Yes.
So if you use the same parameters to compute your salary, that your salary will just increase by this percentage, or your income will increase by that 3%, your income replacement ratio, if you started at 35, would be 27%.
That's very low. Basically, what you're saying
Mhm.
is that if I earned 100,000 before I retire,
Mm.
my income will be replaced when I'm retired with only 20,000 shillings.
Your final income at retirement would just be replaced by 20,000
Yeah.
only. But
That's very little.
it's
Because I'm
very
used
little.
to a lifestyle of 100 G.
yes,
So at 20,000 shillings is too little.
it's too little, but that's the argument of when you start. You remember we talked about if you start early, it becomes easy. If you start late, then you need to muscle up and do a little more.
So you're saying if I put in only 5,000 at the age of 35,
Uh-huh.
my income replacement will work out to roughly 20%.
20%.
So it's too little.
It's
I
too
need
little.
to add more.
You need to add more. Now let's put the same age bracket. Let's put someone who has 15,000 contribution. If you do the computations, roughly 15%. If your salary was 100,000,
Okay.
but if you don't have a salary, then you're just saying your income the contribution at 35 is 15,000. You're contributing 15,000 per month consistently for the remainder of your work life. That's around 25 years. By the end of this period, you will have accumulated 17.1 million.
Okay.
You see the difference? Much higher. If you do the computation, it will give you an 82% income replacement
Okay,
ratio.
now we're talking.
And the amount of money you will have accumulated will give you an annuity of around 170,000.
Yeah.
Something fair.
Yeah.
You get? So what I'm trying to say is that it is actually possible. If you know what you want, then you know how to get there.
Yeah.
And I keep repeating, consistency is everything. I'll
Yes.
say that at every stage so that you understand. There is no shortcut. You can't contribute for 1 year, withdraw the money, chew the money, then start after 5 years. It doesn't work like that.
It's every year
Yes.
from now.
From now.
Every month.
Every month from now. But I also need to take care of those who say, I can't do per month. My income doesn't come per month.
Right.
Then you need to determine whether you'll do per quarter or per annum. And one of the assumptions I made is that for all these factors, this is for those who have zero savings for pension today.
So we're assuming these guys have nothing.
Nothing.
They're starting today.
There are those who have something. If you put in what you have currently,
Plus.
it changes the numbers very quickly. Now, the next stage
One
is...
quick question.
Yes.
If I have erratic, let's just assume I'm an artist or
Mm,
creative,
mm.
and this month I make 5,000, the next month I'm making 100,000, next month a million. So I have erratic. Does the pension allow me to give an erratic sort of contribution?
It does allow.
Okay.
It does allow. There is no restriction on how much you give. Why most people do a fixed amount is maybe because you're going to do a standing order, so you will
Yes,
not be involved in
yeah.
doing the contribution.
I hear you.
Some people have a problem. Those who are very disciplined don't even have to have a standing order. They will wake up at the beginning of the month and do their contribution if you're disciplined. But the discipline is something that is rare, especially when it comes to financial discipline. So many things happen
That's
in your
true.
life and outside, so it affects the cash flow issues. So that's why most people select a fixed amount, but there is no restriction about that. I even know someone who said, you know what, I'm not so good in these monthly things. I am not good at it. They made it very clear. They said, at the end of this project, I will save 10% of the return I make from this project. There are those who do projects. So if you made 100,000 from a project, you say, I will cut a fraction of this and save it. And for the project I will earn in 2021, I'll make a fraction. To make it easy for them, we will have to decide what method works for us. But at the end of the year, at the end of the day, you need to determine what you're going to save and how you're going to save it.
Okay. So this is for the 35-year-old.
Yes.
Do you have a second example
I have,
for a 35-year-old?
I've given two so that I have time to do the one for 45 and 50.
Oh, fantastic.
Good. So for the ones who are 45, that is where I call a danger zone. Danger zone. 40 to 50 is you have very few years.
So this is assuming I have no savings and I am 45.
It's assuming. If you have no saving and you're at 45, it means you have only 15 years to 60. Only 15 years. And I've assumed that you will hopefully have an income of around 150,000. So even if you choose to just contribute 10% of that, that's 15,000. At the end of the period, you will have accumulated around 5.8 million. It's just 15 years. 15 years, it's not much. And then it will earn you around 58 or 50 something thousand per month. Replacement ratio is around 25%. Similar. When you start late, it's a little bit difficult. But you still can do something. Do you know what? 58 is better than most people because most people have nothing at retirement. So even with the one who has 58, has something to live by.
So this is 58,000 I'll receive every single month.
Yes.
If I put 15,000 now.
15,000.
Okay.
And if you're at 45. And you consistently do it and you make sure that where you're putting your money, the investment is a certain return. And I said bare minimum of 8%. And even within these 15 years, you will be escalating the amount by just 3%. So it gives you something. But also if you are younger than that, then you know it will be more difficult if you start at 45. It's better
so if you're
start
younger
early.
than 45, please
start early.
Start today.
Yeah. So I want also to take an example of someone who will achieve the target, at least of income replacement ratio of above 65%. So I'll give the same person 45 years, but they have to contribute 40,000 per month.
Okay.
Consistently for the 15 years, of course with the escalation. And at the end of these 15 years, they would have accumulated around 15.4 million.
Okay.
That will grant them 150,000 per month, 154,000 per month, which is equivalent to around 65% income replacement ratio.
Yeah, so this compound thing is just unfair if you've not started early.
Yes.
Because look at that, 15, and if you were 35, it would have taken you only 15,000 shillings. Yet if you start at 45, you're having to contribute 40,000. Look at that.
And if you're at 25, I mean, it goes without saying, you will not even have any sweat. I mean, it will just be something simple. That 2,000, 1,000 you spend, eating here and there, that is sufficient when you start very early.
Yeah.
Now, let's close with a person who is at 50. At 50, normally I say you need more prayers than any other thing. Because, man, you have very few years to do what you need to do.
But it can still work.
It still can work. There is no, we've gone through all the age groups, and there is no place I'm saying it's impossible. No. Even when you have nothing, there is always where to look at. There is another option. And I'll go to the other option when we talk about the person who is above 58 years. Because we have a question about that. So we're going to deal with it then. So if you are 50 and above, I actually made more options for the people who are above 50 because I thought, man, it is tight for those who are above 50. So I'll take the one with 50, and for them, I'm giving a bare minimum of 30,000 per month. That is if their income was roughly around 200,000, and the 15% of that is around 30,000. So if you're contributing this 30,000 consistently, you will make around 5.8 million, which will give you around 50-something thousand per month. You see, income replacement still 22%. So it's still low, but look, if you are contributing this 30 at an earlier age, you will be at a totally different level.
Completely.
So if I take an example of the best person in this bracket, would be a person who is looking at an income replacement ratio of around 65%.
Yeah.
They will have to contribute 90,000 per month for their remaining 10 years. For them to achieve around 17.6 million, which translates to around 170-something thousand per month for the rest of their life. Are you seeing the difference? Yes. So if I even go to the next level of someone who has around 50,000 contribution per month at that age, it will translate to around 9.7, which is equivalent to around 90-something thousand, 95, 97,000 per month. But you see the kind of monies you have to contribute at a later time. So that is for those who have the discipline to do monthly. What happens if you're not going to do monthly? I mean,
they don't have to. Well, you can set up a standing order. So even if you're not disciplined, that standing order ensures that the money just keeps going.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the people who don't have the income? They're at 50, but they don't have an income. I'm very sure there's someone asking, I'm not employed.
Especially in this season, or you had a business.
Yeah.
I mean, I have friends who, or people I know, even people who've written in, who either were in school business, in education, some, salons and those sorts of things, whose salaries have come down significantly. People in the food business, whose incomes have come down significantly. And if you're over 50, and that's your situation, what would you have to say about that?
I do remember last week I mentioned that at a certain time you need to determine what assets you've already accumulated.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have time or the luxury of an income you have to look back on what you've already done. Because I'm very sure you've not done nothing. You've done something in your life. It's just that it's in an asset or something.
Maybe land somewhere.
Yes,
land
somewhere.
Every Kenyan story.
Yes, every Kenyan story. We keep buying land. There's land here. Please buy. You buy this land, but you're not using them. And sometimes you even retire while you have done nothing with that land. Now, part of putting a house in order is determining what you're going to bequeath to your children and what you're going to set aside to take care of you for your remaining years. One of the things that your grandchildren want is to see you alive. So you also need money to keep you going, to pay for your medical bills, so that they see you.
Yeah, and to gift them as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things I've encouraged, that if you see that you have more than what you can bequeath, select one, convert it into liquid, then use it to give an income. Why not? Part of your sweat in life is to make sure you also live a good life.
So that's the other way to do it. So if I
way.
feel this pension thing is not working, I'm a disciplined person, I want to save in different ways. Put it in shares, put it in a money market fund, put it in a property somewhere. And then I get to the age of, say, 55, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know how real estate is going to go. I don't know whether, everything that I expect to turn out well is going to. I can sell one of those assets, say a house, a building, get my 20, 30 million, put it in a pension in an annuity, right? And that annuity.
Or an income drawdown.
Okay, maybe we need to talk about it.
We need to talk about it. Just maybe let's do 3 minutes or 4 minutes about it. What's the difference? First of all, an annuity is offered by an insurance company, life insurance company, because it's a life product. So it basically assures you that you'll be paid for the rest of your life. And if you so pass on before your guarantee period, the balance will be paid to your beneficiary. One of the major differences is you're not going to get your capital back, because they're going to outlive you. It's going to outlive you. But for an income drawdown, it's basically putting your funds somewhere for a selected period of time, minimum of 10 years.
Okay.
So what it basically means is that you put your money, it's invested, then you draw down your interest, and sometimes with a proportion of the principal, but not exceeding 15%. Are we together?
Not exceeding 15%.
15% of, you need, there's a limit on how much you can draw down. Okay. You cannot draw down, like if you have $1 million, you can't draw down 100,000, because if you draw down 100,000, in how many months would your money be depleted? So what happens is, after the 10 years, the balance of the capital shall be given back to you. Of course, proportionate to what you have drawn out. So if you've drawn out interest plus 1% of capital, you'll be given the remainder of your capital. Now, the only challenge with that is that you have what we call reinvestment risk.
Yeah.
Remember I told you that most people have very good business ideas only when they have money and it's at 50 or 60.
No, all of us. I mean, if I give you 10 million today,
thank you.
Yeah, you'll get many ideas.
Thank you. The problem with that is that we end up making very unprofitable decisions.
Yeah.
So, as much as a drawdown is good because you'll get your capital back, and most people fear these products because they're like, you want to tell me I'm giving you 10 million and I'm getting nothing back? Of course, you're being given per month, but just because there's a fear of you're not going to give me back my capital, those group of people, you would encourage them to do drawdown, because for drawdown they will give you back your money after the end of the selected period. Bare minimum is 10. You can do 15.
Okay.
So that's the advantage. And it's supposed to take care of both groups of people who would want to have their capital back, who don't want to deal with who want to deal with the reinvestment risk,
Yes.
and those who say, put my money, invest it, and pay me for the rest of my life. So it's encouraged to have either one of it or both of them.
So I want us to stop there because there's so many questions.
Okay.
There's so many questions and I need to be able to address them. The first question, let me look at the one that's related to what we are looking at. Okay, so my pension contribution is 4,851.
Yes.
I have 35 years to my retirement. How much will I get when I retire?
You said it's 4,000?
Jenny, 4,851.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have the...
We have a similar one. We had a 35-year-old with 5,000. You remember that case? One of the cases was a 35-year-old with 5,000. So the difference is not so big.
Yes.
Now, the assumption is that you will consistently have that 4,000 something increasing by at least 3% or slightly more than that, and consistently for the remaining 25 years till retirement. Now, I can't give you an actual figure, but I can give you a range. Because of the 5,000 generates 5.7 million. You can estimate that to be around 5 point something million, maybe 5.3, 5.4, 5.5. But you can do the actual computation later on. If they drop a line, you can do an actual computation for them. So that with that, you will retire at around 5.5 million or 5.3 million. If you only maintain that but if you increase, it changes the equation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that question, Jenny. And then Purity is asking, can I use my pension before I retire?
That question is open-ended. Use it for what? Are you using it for consumption? Are you using it to invest? Yeah. But what I always encourage is that your pension benefit was meant to be used when you retire. Yeah. There are few people who actually are so good that they can take that money, maybe at 50, do something with it, and it generates more money than they would have gotten from the returns of a pension scheme. But how many are they? They are less than, I think, 4-5%. Majority of us, if we were that good, would actually all be investment experts. But because we are not, that's why there are few people who are actually doing it for a living and they're doing it well. You get? So my encouragement is leave retirement benefits to be retirement benefits. Don't use it for consumption, trips, parties, and any other thing. And actually, it's not for buying cars. Trust me. A car is a liability. Yes. You'd rather have income and food to eat than a car with no fuel and no money to eat. So I would discourage anyone for saying, I'm using my retirement benefit to buy a car, unless they had enough to buy a car or do whatever they want to do, but left enough for their monthly income. That's my standard on that.
Then there's another question here from Langat. What happens if the pension company goes under?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so if you're talking about Kenya, the regulations are very stringent when it comes to management of retirement benefits. So you would find that every pension scheme or retirement benefit fund is managed by 3 independent organizations. A fund manager whose sole responsibility is to invest, a custodian who does safekeeping of the funds, and an administrator. And on an annual basis, there is an audit by an external auditor. So there is a very slim possibility that money can be lost in the current era because the money is kept by different institutions and they report to the regulator on a quarterly basis and on a monthly basis on the status of the funds and how the funds are doing. So I will always say there is enough safety already being carried out with management of pension funds, but we are human beings, so there's always that percentage of risk. The only place where I've found difficulties when the employer is unable to remit your contribution and does that for a long time. There are few organizations where that has happened. Yeah. So it reduces the amount of money because if your employer has not been contributing for 3 years, has been deducting but not contributing, you see that's a challenge. Yeah, but by then, the regulator would have stepped in to remedy the situation. And in some cases, they actually close funds that are not being funded.
And how as an employee, how do you keep track of that?
you have
'Cause
your
you assume.
There's people assume that things are fine. I keep saying you need to check your statement either on a monthly or quarterly basis. You need to check your statement. Ask your scheme administrator or trustee to make sure you have a statement. One of the things that your statement helps you, it helps you know where you are.
Yeah.
You know, when I check my statement, I already know where I am currently and where I'm supposed to be. If you don't know how much money you have, do you know most people, I can tell you, most people ask how much they have when they have seen a notice of retirement. I can guarantee you about that.
Wow.
Most people don't know. They are very indifferent. They just find out when they know they're about to apply. When they think they have a problem that requires a loan. So someone would ask, can I borrow from the pension? And you tell them the regulations don't allow.
Yeah.
But most people are very indifferent about matters pension because they're thinking it's being deducted and I guess they're taking care of it. My standard rule is when you put your money, make sure you know where it is. Even if it's in a circle, make sure you know things are there. You will wake up after 40 years and you're told, oh, sorry, they shut down. You are not told, you know.
Oh, no.
So I always say, make sure you know how much you have. Ask for your statement.
Okay, more questions. And there's one scenario that, okay, so let's deal with these ones. And then there's one case study,
Okay.
a really heartfelt email that I want us to look at.
Mm.
So is annuity monthly income taxed?
Okay, yes, it is taxed, but you're given a relief before the taxation.
Yeah, so there's a discount
There's
on the tax.
what I call a relief, what you can call a discount.
Yeah.
But also, if your money originated from pension benefits, usually there is a bracket that is tax exempt and what will not be taxed. So there is a bracket which will not be taxed, even if it goes to annuity. So when you're transferring your money from your pension scheme to your annuity provider, you always give them a statement that indicates which amount is to be taxed and which is not to be taxed.
Yeah.
But then the government also gives you another tax relief before giving you your annuity. So you have like 4 or so stages of tax reliefs or tax breaks that the government issues. And currently those who are retiring in 2020 are really enjoying because of the tax relief that was added by the president on top of what was there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been good for those who have been retiring in this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nina has a question about those that are employed, and I think it's tied to what that case study. So I'll park that for just a minute.
Yeah.
And then Purity is asking, can I top up the amount I have been contributing towards my pension plan as the years progress? And I think we've addressed that.
Mm-hmm.
That yes, you can continue to top up.
Yeah.
You can continue to top up if you're paying as 5%, 6%. You can actually top up, and the more you top up, then the more you'll actually benefit from as time goes by.
Yes.
So now, so that we can address this question, or rather this case study, allow me to go there now, Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a question that was asked. This lady is in her 40s, and her business has shut down because of the season that we're in. And a lot of people find themselves in this situation. So she doesn't have an income, but she has been able to find something to do to be able to put food on the table at home. So not enough to do the things she'd like to, but at least they're not going hungry. Now, how, with only a few years to retirement as we saw, right? Where can she begin, right? With completely reduced income, and some even none. Nina says unemployed, if you're unemployed. How and where can they start? With really reduced income. I mean, we recognize it's a very tough season right now. A lot of people have lost jobs.
Yes.
A lot of people are in a situation where their salary has been reduced significantly. And so pension sounds great and something they'd love to do. But really, where do I start? So how can you address that?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. I think I'll begin with the current need. Is that you don't have an income or you have very little income. Now, you might have heard this statement being said in the different platforms this year.
Yeah.
2020 is a year to survive. It is one of the years you just need to go through. If you survive through 2020, that is in itself sufficient. If your business survives 2020, I can guarantee you that is just enough.
True.
So it's not a year to say, you know, I had a target, I didn't achieve it. There are people who don't have food and rent. I have cases where, do you remember a case where someone has been pleading for assistance to help them pay rent? You get? And you can tell that they have no income, their business collapsed, you know, the company was shut down or something like that. So this is one of the years to concentrate on making sure you survive through. If you have anything addition to basic needs, thank God and do something with it.
Yeah.
But this is one of the year where I would not challenge people, oh, you need to be, no, even if things are tough, save some in your pension. I can only encourage you to start somewhere. Remember, saving 100 shillings is better than saving none. Saving 1,000 is better than saving none. But the most important thing is take care of your basic needs. And as you take care of your basic needs, I know this also doubles up to personal finance, and maybe we'll have another session later on, but make sure you narrow down on your expense channels. Reduce on what you spend on. Think through your expenses and identify the basic and the secondary. Only deal with the basic now. There are things you're used to do, there are places you're used to go. Desist from doing things, being in places, being with people who make your money disappear. Reduce and make sure you concentrate on the basic. Make sure you pay your rent. Negotiate with your landlord, landlady, or agent. Talk to them. I keep saying, you can't just sit there and say, I don't have money. Go and talk to, produce yourself and say, this is my problem, and this is how I intend to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Allow me to live on half rent for this period. I will start paying from this time onwards. Let's be proactive in seeing that we make sure we survive through 2020, and then through this time, through Great Depression and pain, that is when great things are born. You know that?
Yes.
So this is a time where your mind has to be made up of the things you want and the things you need to achieve. I'll tell you the truth. When I was very broke, that is when I really desired, when maybe I had no work, or that's when you desire on what you want to achieve. And then when you get money, that is when now you start saving slowly. But I keep saying, even 500 saved in 2020 is something. You will remember. So I keep saying, start somewhere, sign up, make all the paperwork done, and wait for when the cash flow starts coming. But start somewhere. I keep saying the one thing I do when I have an opportunity to invest is to get the documentation and put them straight. And do the first 1,000. I do that a lot. Because when I do the first 1,000, then I know I have a liability. Either I lose that money or I keep contributing. So our biggest problem is we don't start. So start somewhere, but please concentrate on making sure we go through 2020 in one piece. Then hopefully when things get better, we can now increase the energy to make sure we're able to save as we go along.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think the thing is, don't take it too hard on yourself.
Yes.
Don't be in a situation where you're feeling so depressed that I'm not even contributing. I don't even see in the foreseeable future. I don't even think I'll be able to contribute at all, because right now
things are tight.
The situation is the way it is. Things are tight, and it's also recognizing that we're all in this together. So have conversations with those you need to.
With those you need to.
To be able to survive and ride this season. Okay, so I think there's one other question I had, and I'm just looking at my time, but I think we're good. The other question that I had was for my 58-year-old friend.
Yes.
And she knows that in 2 years she works for a bank.
Yes.
She knows that in 2 years she's going to be retiring from her job, and she's likely to be paid a lump sum. So she's been contributing, and over the years, since about the age of 30. So she's probably like, the other person we were talking about earlier. Yeah. So her concern is the money is coming in about 2 years. What should she do? Because it's coming as a lump sum. It's not an annuity like we had talked about earlier. It's a lump sum she's going to receive. So let's assume she's receiving that 17 million shillings. What should she do with that money? And she asked me, should I start a business, or what do you think I should do?
So to help me answer that question, I'll pick some information from a survey which was done by RBI, I think a while back.
A survey, okay.
A survey. That most of the people who start their businesses at retirement, 21% of such businesses collapse.
21?
Yeah, 21%.
Okay.
Then 48% of such businesses do not make any profit.
Wow.
Or remain unprofitable for a while. That, if you do the math very well, is around 70%. 70%. It's only 13% of such businesses which end up making profit. It's a sad story.
So I just have a business that keeps me busy.
Yeah. You carry your tea, your flask, you take tea, you sell in your kiosk or supermarket, whichever it is. You keep busy. Yeah. But you keep busy as you're depleting your own hard-earned money. So I'll end with a question I've asked a very close person in my life, but don't worry, I'll end with that. Now, it's not a bad idea to do business, but it's only a good idea if you're doing a business you began way before retirement, a business you started either 10 years before, and you have seen it grow. I am not saying don't do business, but don't do business at 60. Don't become a mechanic at 60. If you want to become a mechanic, start at 45. Then build your muscle on it, even as you work in the bank. Build your muscle on it. Then when the business is peaking and you think it's making money, you can pick part of what you get from your retirement package and put it in the business so that it grows. But you need it to have watched it grow over time. That only makes sense. You don't wake up at 60 and you miraculously are good at doing this or this. It doesn't mean there are no other people who started at 60 and made a name in the world. I mean, I keep reminding people they're there, but you don't want to put yourself in that position. So I encourage this person to consider, if you 2 years, it is time to look for information. Those 2 years is time to consult a financial expert, look at all the options. You know what I like about 2 years? 2 years is enough time to think through all the facts. 1 week is too little to start thinking about your 10 million that you've worked for 35 years. It's too little.
And in the meantime, where should she put her money?
If the money is in a pension scheme, they should leave it to remain in the pension scheme until.
You don't have to draw down.
No. If you're not yet retired, I mean.
I mean, she'll retire at 60.
Oh, she'll retire at 60.
So she's saying, when now I turn 60, at my 60th year, I'm now leaving. They'll give me the lump sum.
Okay. So if the money is available now, in my opinion, put it in a fixed arrangement that you will not be tempted to take the money.
Yeah, so like a treasury bill, treasury
bond. You can even open a pension account for 2 years. It's still worthwhile because they will keep it, and with that, hopefully, you can even be consulting with them on the options available. So that is possible. My biggest challenge is put your money in a place where you're going to draw it very quickly when you have need, or when someone calls and tells you there's a deal. Then you wake up in the middle of the night like, I'm going to do the deal. You're going to lose your hard-earned money. So put it in a place where you're not going to access it. A pension product is still worthwhile. For 2 years. Then in the 2 years, gather all the information you need about the options available. Then by then, you'll just be waiting and signing up, putting your money there, and from 61, you'll start receiving your income.
63?
Oh, 63.
Because it'll take 2 years.
2 years. Fine. Yeah, 63 years.
But that's helpful.
That's
so
helpful.
take 2 years to do your research and figure out what are the best options for you.
Yes.
I don't know whether this is a good one, but what companies can she start to talk to? Does she go to the pension administrator? Does she go to the insurance company? Or does she go to all these different people?
Now, because I am in the industry, I will not go mentioning names of other companies, just to be professional. But the best is to find a financial expert, someone who deals with pension, maybe from an administration firm, and then let them guide you and give you the options. You reserve the right to be told the different options available. Remember, you're the one putting your money. No one will force you to put your money in a place you're not comfortable. But within the 2 years, even seek for trainings. I think I told you we hold different types of trainings. Some are online, some are physical trainings.
How can people access those trainings?
Those trainings are communicated. If you drop us a line, you'll be looped in the many trainings that happen. Then you'll have all the time to listen through different forums, and then you will have all the time to make up your mind. So let them drop. I know the contacts were listed somewhere. They can drop an email. They will be advised, and they'll be given options. The government, the regulator, mandates that when you're being given information, you're given information for more than one option, so that you have a place to choose.
Somebody wrote to me from Dubai.
Yes.
And said that they're very bored with these rates of money market funds.
Yes.
I mean, really, they have 2 accounts. Yeah, they do okay, but these rates are so low. I have 200,000 shillings now.
Yes.
I want to earn 7,000 shillings a month. Where can I put my money?
It's a good one. If you have 200,000 and you want 7,000, that was what percent?
It's 40%.
Let's be honest.
Per annum.
Per annum.
40% per annum.
That's impossible. You can't invest in these structured products and get 40%. If someone tells you that's possible, that's a scheme. that's going to collapse soon.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. So if you want to make exorbitant profit, you have to do business.
Yeah.
Remember, business has its own risks.
Mm.
That is why a few people don't want to take their money there. In business, you can make 100% profit, but also you can lose 100% of your money.
Right.
So I would want to be very honest that you are not going to get 40% in a structured product. I stand to be corrected. I have not seen any.
That's actually how I responded.
Yeah.
Now, just quickly on risk, because people don't really think about risk.
Mhm.
I find people when you share an opportunity, at least that's what I find in my work,
Mhm.
that every time I share an opportunity, the next question is, what is the return?
Mm.
Hardly ever do people really question the risk. And I want to hear your view of the different rates we find available, right?
Mhm.
So how does somebody assess risk? So there's different companies offering different products.
Mhm.
And if you can put your money with us, we'll give you 20%. Put your money with us, we'll give you 15%. Put your money with us, some are saying 8%. How do you distinguish between the different ones that are available so that then you also protect your downside?
Okay. You already mentioned it in your question. High risk, high return.
Right.
Let me start. High return, high risk. So if someone is promising you 20%, know that there's a very huge risk attached to that. The reason why most people give an average of around what I mentioned last time, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, is because that is moderate. They have dealt with the high risk products, high risk avenues and assets to invest in, and the low risk.
Right.
The bonds, the bills, the equities. If you only put your money in equities, you know what happened after COVID came? You're going to have a very big hit. That is why people have balanced portfolios, where you have a proportion in equity, a proportion in bond, a proportion in fixed deposit, and then a proportion in property, if you have any property. But putting everything, when the product has one investment product, then that's risky. I mean, if it's property, what if something happens? I mean, there are no tenants or whatever. If it's equity, what happens when a 2020 kind of scenario comes? Things are going to be bad. So I always say, when the parameter is always, when the rate is high, please open your eyes and ears, because the risk has to be high. No one is giving you 20% for free without putting a risk on it.
Okay, time is up.
Thank you.
How can we get in touch with you? I'm giving you for all this time you've given me. I'm so grateful.
So first of all, you can get in touch with Octagon through our website, www.octagonafrica.com, and also you can write to us through info@octagonafrica.com. Go to our website, you'll find our contacts, contact us, and we'll be glad to assist you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you
so much too.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for asking your questions, for interacting with us. I hope this has been fruitful for you. This has been an amazing, amazing season. We've been looking at retirement and the how to and what exists and where can I start and the numbers. In case this is the first time that you're watching this, we did actually have a part 1 that we did last Friday, so please go back. We left it up on YouTube, so it's available for you to continue to watch and just sort of digest. And I hope this has been helpful. We'll be back next Friday. It's going to be a surprise what we're going to talk about, but I'll have a different guest with me. Have a fantastic Friday, and God bless you so much. Take care.